Joining us live from London is Olivier Guita. He's a security analyst at Global Strat, a geopolitical risk and security consultancy firm. What would you a consultancy firm? What would you tell if France were a client? What would you tell them now?
Look, a couple of things need to happen. We need to find out, obviously, quickly if the perpetrator of the attack was on any terror watch list, because one of your guests mentioned that it could have been a real lone wolf that could have gone through that process, which I think is very, very unlikely at this point. I mean, this was a well-prepared attack. The timing, the day, the intelligence that the Islamic State would try to hit the south of France, all this seems to indicate that that person will have be on a terror watch list one day or another. That's the first one. The second one is to look for accomplices, which they are already looking for. Because where did he get the guns, the grenades? I mean, who helped him get the truck where it was? So that's not a one-man job. Then the next question, which comes into the bigger things and that Hollande has already announced, is retribution. I'm sure there'll be much more aggressive strikes.
Whom?
Against what they will consider as possibly the masterminds of the attack, which after the November attacks, the French targeted jihadist camp of Islamic State. Just yesterday, the head of French intelligence said that they knew for a fact who was behind the November attack. So I suspect that if Islamic State is involved one way or another, you will see a ramp-up military campaign from the French in Iraq and Syria.
All right. Olivier Guita, a lot of the conversation that Western countries have when things like this happen is how to be secure without compromising people's civil liberties. How do you get that balance?
Well, what's really interesting is that out of a lot of people, the French are very, very touchy about their privacy and their freedoms. And what is interesting is after the attack in January, and especially after November, they were willing in the large majority to curtail some of their freedoms in order to be safe. Now the question is, as you mentioned earlier, if now they don't feel safe and they have a little less freedom than before, then how is Hollande going to sell whatever plan he has to improve security? But at the same time, the issue is much more, not in terms of just the privacy issue, but in terms of what I said about hiring informers, getting into the cells, getting to the actual operational minds of the different groups. And that is not an overnight fact that will happen. So, as I said, it will take years to rebuild what has been scrapped. When it comes to the US and the UK, they made a conscious decision years ago not to follow that route of human intelligence, which I think was a big mistake. Electronic intelligence is not going to give you exactly what's going to happen, because there's so much, and the NSA and GCHQ in London are overwhelmed with data that they cannot really look at. So I think there's between security services in the West a realization that they need to go back to basics if you want that, like the Cold War basics.
Mr. Guita, thank you so much for your insight over the last few hours. We appreciate it. And Nata Bakos is a